Hi, this is Steve with Roadrunner Air Conditioning, Heating, and Plumbing in Santa Fe, New Mexico. In today's episode of Fun with Load Calcs, I'd like to focus in on an adobe home in Los Alamos, New Mexico, actually in White Rock, New Mexico. And this home was originally built in 1973. Okay, and it's made out of adobe with a flat roof, different kind of a home than most folks have, and it has different loads associated with this kind of construction. So again, with this home, we're going to look at potential energy efficiency improvements that the client is considering to lower the heating and cooling loads. The first step we use in Roadrunner air conditioning is always to do a manual J load calculation. And this is the baseline for the home in the as-built construction. And then the client is going to consider various improvements in the home to add insulation or improve the energy efficiency. And we're going to use manual J load calcs to see what kind of impact or delta would occur with those improvements. The design parameters for White Rock, New Mexico are as follows. The winter temperature in the outside dry bulb Fahrenheit temperature is 10 degrees. And the summertime temperature is 90 degrees. And this represents 98% of the potential temperature hours in a typical year in White Rock, New Mexico. The inside temperature that we assume in this model is 70 degrees in the winter and 75 degrees in the summer, and making the design temperature delta of 60 degrees in the winter and 15 degrees in the summer. So this home, take a look at this layout of the home. Adobe home, about 3,800 square feet. The adobe walls are 20 inches thick. The foundation is sand and pumice packed down with bricks on top for the home. The windows are the original Pella metal windows with storm windows on the inside, and some of the windows were improved in 2016. Skylights that you see prominently displayed on this design with the little square boxes in the middle of the rooms, these are insulated and have low E double pane glass. The outside wall covering is stucco, and the roof is currently flat roof with pumice of 6 inches. So this is a true northern New Mexico adobe home. Quite different than the rest of the country, okay? So let's start with potential improvements to the roof. The current roof as built has 2-inch thick wood deck, 6 inches of pumice, which represents R9, and then 3 layers of Celotex fiberboard on top of that, which has a total of R3, for a total insulative value in the roof of this home of R12, okay? The membrane is medium color, torch down membrane. So the improved scenario for this roof is the original 2 inches of roof deck, 2 layers of Celotex, and then foam insulation, either rigid or spray foam, for R33 on top of the original roof deck for a total of R35. So we're going to go from R12 to R35. What's the delta for this home in White Rock, New Mexico in terms of heating and cooling? So the as-built heating load for this home is around 59,000 BTUs and the cooling load around 35.5 thousand. When we put the new roof in place, the loads are improved by 13% in the heating and 22% in the cooling. 13% heating improvement, 22% cooling improvement. So that's a big delta, especially on cooling in White Rock for this new roof. Second scenario this client is considering, improving the windows throughout the house. As I mentioned, some of the windows are 1973 vintage metal frame windows, okay? The current U value of those windows is 0.87, and we are considering improving to modern windows with low E glass with a U value of 0.3. What's the impact on the manual J loads for for this particular improvement. Again, the original as-built, $59,000 for heating, $35.5 for cooling. When we put in the new windows, we get a 10% savings in the heating load and a 17% savings in the cooling load. That's scenario number 2. Scenario number 3 for this owner is providing edge insulation around the foundation of this home. Remember that this is a true adobe home with a brick floor over sand with graded pumice underneath with no edge or perimeter insulation. So here's the improvement. 1 foot of R10 rigid foam, which is 2-inch thick board, around the outside of that foundation. What does that do for the home? It provides 16% improvement on the heating savings, 0% improvement on the cooling. Now, the final scenario that this owner is considering is foam board insulation on the outside of his adobe walls with new stucco and a medium color. The current as-built insulative value of an adobe wall is around R7. And this bears a bit of explanation. 20-inch wall of soil adobe really doesn't have a large R value, only 7. And that can be difficult to understand. We think of adobe as really insulative, but it's not. It's really a heat sink. That's the benefit of adobe. The thermal sink of heat during the day, cool during the night, and it ameliorates the swings inside the room, the temperature swings. But in terms of R value, it's not very high. So currently it has an R value of 7, and the improvement is to put a 1 inch of extruded polystyrene rigid foam all the way out, and then new stucco, providing an additional 5, an R5, on top of the adobe. And that result provides 9% heating savings in BTUs and 5% cooling savings in BTUs. So in sum, again, with northern New Mexico climates, rigid foam outside of a foundation can often have the biggest improvement in heating BTU savings. Again, it's not a very complicated thing, but with an uninsulated slab, or in this case, uninsulated packed pumice, holding that heat inside the floor against the cold ambient temperatures can be a very valuable thing for northern New Mexico homes in the winter. Thanks for listening.